All right, boys, we're back again for another one. This time, there was a bit of a debate or a lot of butting of the heads among the Power Rangers fandom. Here with the whole gang here, of course. Got JD, got Isaac, and got Tech. All right, all four Power Rangers Academia co-hosts right now. About to go in and talk about the civilian fights versus no civilian fights. Does it matter? Is it important? Does it add more layers to the overall story? Or does it do nothing for y'all? So, I guess we could just go around one after another. Isaac, we'll start with you. How do you feel about civilian fights?
I'm a fan of hands. I'm a fan of hands, and I'm gonna be real. I'd rather see them fight as civilians than when they're actually morphed up, because I want to see what these actors can do, and they got to be believable for me. Right, so let's go back to everybody's favorite Gold Ranger, Nate from Beast Morphers.
Oh my god.
Okay, let's go back to that.
Wait,
he has to be believable.
Everybody's
he has to be believable. And how does he become believable? I gotta see Mans run some hands. Plain and simple. I would probably like him better if I saw more of that. If I saw him, I would definitely like him better. And see his skills, his fighting skills progress over time. I feel like they did a good job in Samurai, but they were supposed to be talented. You know what I'm saying? They're samurai. It's supposed to be samurai.
Keyword supposed to be.
Supposed to be. But if we take, I feel like it was really done right. It's not. We didn't really see civilian fights, but in the Power Rangers 2017 movie, where they all train together to get better, like I felt like more seasons should adopt that. That to me was believable. Seeing progress.
Right.
The idea of training in general.
The idea of training, because you can't just take a bunch of people with no martial arts experience and all of a sudden they're ready for the UFC the next day.
Facts. It always bothered me. Always
bothered me. But one thing that also bothers me, and this is just something very, very small. They're the henchmen, right? The putties. The putties. I feel like they're just too weak. They're just too weak. They losing to normal ass people. Like to me, that bothers me. But at the same time, I understand they have to be weak to showcase how strong that they are as just normal unmorphed characters. But yeah, I'm a fan of hands. I hope we get to see more in Cosmic Fury. Highly doubt it. It'll be nice though. It'll be nice. It's not everything, but I really do feel like that's where it's really now. If you really want to separate the cast from the Sentai, that's how you do it. Mm-hmm. Because we already know the Sentai, Sentai footage will always have good fights. So it's always somewhere. Not every fight is a good one, but every season will have its good amount of fights. But
they come equipped with hands.
Fair, they don't do a lot of civilian fights in Sentai that much. So it's a good reason for them to differentiate.
Have it balanced. I'm not saying have more civilian fights than more fights. Have them balanced. If you have 5 minutes of fighting as civilians, 5 minutes and then morphed, I'm okay with that. Give a minute or two to even morph, because I understand that's what people watch. It's like you watching a superhero movie. You care more about what happens with them as superheroes than how they fight with them not superhero. So keep it balanced. That's my final thought, is keep it balanced. I hope we get to see balanced fights.
Bet. Tech, how about you? Where's your stance on this debate?
Well, I mean, we're all Mighty Morphin fans, and that was one of the things that made it so cool with the Unmorphed fights. But even some of the
not to cut you off, Tech. Speaking on that, that's one thing that I forgot to bring up that I should have. Gotta bring back some music. Gotta bring back some original music.
Yo, I was gonna say it. I was gonna wait until my turn to talk about it.
We got to. Yeah. Okay, sorry, Tech. I didn't want to interrupt, but I didn't want to lose my train of thought. We gotta bring back some combat. We gotta bring back some fight. We gotta bring some.
Yes.
Got to.
And my thing is, I'm trying to think. That this whole time I was trying to think of the most memorable fights, the most memorable moments, in Power Rangers I can think of, and I don't know, when I think of those, the Unmorphed fights are kind of it. Honestly, I'm not like super picky about it. Like as long as the choreography is good, I'm okay with it. Like I'm a big fan of like Jungle Fury. Like we mentioned that before, and like that one has like some of the best choreography in my opinion. But like a lot, I can't even really think of like if many were. I can't even think of like which if it was morphed or unmorphed. Like I just remember it being good. That's all I really care about. But like,
but we remember Mighty Morphin fight scenes the most because of the music. Let's be real.
It helped for sure.
But also like the I feel like the unmorphed fights give it that I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like that sense of urgency that you don't get. Because like when they're morphed, like they're morphed, like okay, of course they're gonna whoop their ass. They're all powerful right now, but you don't get moments like one of our favorite moments ever, like Goldar versus Jason. Like that's one of the greatest fights in history. And that's an unmorphed fight technically. And then I mentioned a while ago, like one of my favorite fights too in RPM was what's his name when the prison fight. When they had, that's OD. Like I don't know, stuff like that. It's just, it gives. I feel like it gives it a little bit more creativity when you can do the unmorphed fights. So like if it's one of those things where they just don't see it being worth it anymore, like I wouldn't be too hung up on it. But I feel like it's kind of important to just
Well, you know what else was fire? That wasn't really an unmorphed fight, but it was kind of like half morphed and half unmorphed. Leo at the last episode of Galaxy.
Oof.
We took the
Leo.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't the last time, but that
was cracked.
But that was crazy.
That right there,
that's what I'm saying. That type of stuff. That's the stuff
dude.
that makes them feel, feel human.
You connect to them.
Yeah,
you connect to that. Literally, you connect to them more. We were talking about
or a helmetless fight where now again you still have the pirates. He's morphed. He doesn't have the helmet on. That right there works.
Or another one is you remember one of our favorite episodes, all of us. What was it? Always a Chance? Is that the one? When
Always a Chance with Adam.
When Adam came back?
That was Once a Ranger.
That was Once a Ranger. My bad.
No. Adam. Always a Chance was when he came back.
With Carlos. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Always a Chance.
Yeah, and like that, a lot of that.
Adam came back and started throwing hands against the monster by himself.
No fear, no hesitation.
The mortality of it was when he couldn't morph, or he didn't want to morph. That made it better than it was. You're like, oh, he's throwing hands right now. I don't know, he can't morph. He might die. That made it more interesting.
I'll give Dino Fury a bit of credit here because they did do one of those towards the end. Mm-hmm. There's a fight scene. Probably in like the third to last episode or something that involved Amelia, but it was a situation where her morpher was broken and she had to fight by herself until the team came to save her. And it was like one of the very few unmorphed fights. I think in like that second half there was like two. There's one with Ion and one with her, and it was solid. It was just like it was one of those things where it was like there's not a lot of it, so you don't think about it that much. But it was like, I guess to give him credit, it was one of those situations like you just said where it's like the stakes are high because now this person is in a situation where they have to defend themselves without their power, and who knows what's going to happen. But again, there's a lot of different factors that go into like what makes a good and more fights.
That right there is believable. But if you take a civilian fight like Justin, for example, come on.
You hate on man Justin, bro. Come on.
He really gonna take on a whole group by himself?
Bro, he's Justin.
Oh man.
He was gifted.
Exactly. Exactly. Come on, man. Like that right there is not believable. That's not believable. No, come on. I don't want to hear it. If it's done right and it's believable, that's how it should be done. Not just have civilian fights just because people are ranting, saying they want more, and just throw that in there. Yeah. Make it make sense.
Well, wait a minute. To go off of what you were saying about Justin, are you thinking about the episode when he was actually juiced up though? Because that's the one I remember.
Nah, Justin and first of all, Justin in civilian fights already made no sense because there's no way he has the physical strength, even when he was fighting with the homies, right?
You give him no credit
because I'm not gonna give him credit. It's just not believable. It's not. He was a high schooler, but he was supposed to be in middle school.
Oh,
Like,
I mean,
I'd say this:
gifted.
ain't no middle schooler being fucking anybody ass from a different from a different planet or whatever the hell they were from.
Man, come on.
I forgot what they were called.
He was beating up the turbo putties, bro. Come on.
Yeah, but yo,
They were pretty whack.
even I'm not gonna lie, there were some there were some characters that struggled against a bunch of them without help. There is no way Justin can contribute much to that.
Were they
He's smart.
Were they called
It's the
Piranatrons
power.
or some shit like
Yeah,
that?
Piranatron.
Oh,
They-
man.
they-
Piranatron.
yeah,
Yo,
they-
I had to hear Diva Talks in my head
Yeah, I
for a
was saying.
second. Piranatrons!
But so again, that goes to show that even with good civilian fights, there's also bad ones or non-believable ones.
I'm a believer
Sorry,
in
Justin fans.
I'm a
Sorry,
believer.
Justin fans, but this is the truth. I dare you to go find a middle schooler ready to take on a whole army of Piranatrons by himself. Like it's just not happening. I'm sorry,
Listen.
it's just not. They had
Listen.
weapons on top of that too. They had that blade. It's not happening.
That
Hey
blade.
man, there's a lot that can go down when you are a martial artist, B, Rocky's replacement, okay, and then C, you and then you have that adrenaline from knowing that you are a Power Ranger. So fucking kudos to
And-
Justin, bro.
You know what
And
you're
as
doing? Too much.
As we know, like the morphing grid is just like does magical things.
So yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yo,
man.
who knows, bro?
They fixed Turbo's
Who
mistake.
knows?
I'll go with that. They fixed Turbo's
Green
mistake.
Morphin Master probably was looking over Justin just in case.
Green
That's the,
Yeah. All
but
right.
yeah, man. It's like I definitely would like to see them more, but like I feel like if anything, I don't even have a hope for them to appear that much more in Cosmic Fury, but maybe in the new incarnation when we get around.
Mm-hmm.
They have an opportunity to like set it a little bit, bring the lights back. Because I do feel like, but again, it's like I don't necessarily think each season needs to be about martial artists or like natural born fighters, because that's not empowering. Like powering anyone, the whole thing is anyone can be a ranger. But like I think it just adds to that cool thing. And like you were saying, like even if there were good good civilian fights in the Neo Saban era, which there probably were, right? Like there was definitely some stuff that was decent, but like there's other things that go into a good civilian fight, like the music, that the scenario that's playing out. And like I feel like a lot of the times when they were doing civilian fights, it was just like a civilian fight for the sake of having it,
Yeah.
as opposed to building the right type of scenario around it. On top of that, like Neo Saban music at best, for the most part. So
I also want to.
it's funny. Like
Not bad. You finish.
no, you good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, my thing, what you kind of touched on right there. I don't want them to ever feel that's as much as I love Power Rangers. Like, it's obviously, we all know it's very formulaic. Like a lot of the times they, like you do the story, the morphed or unmorphed fight, and then Megazord, and that's the episode, and then maybe a closing
And then
of the
the
story.
moral.
Yeah, after that. But like, I don't ever, especially now that they have as much free reign as they have, I don't ever want them to just do something just because, right? Like just, I want everything to be intentional. Like that.
True.
That's like the best anything can be, is like when everything is intentional, not just when you're being forced to do anything. I would like more civilian fights, but I don't want them to just feel like they just have to do it just because, and then it's just gonna feel like phoned in, and it's just not gonna be as interesting. I'd rather
That's
than
true.
have them. If there's only like 2 good civilian fights in the 10 episodes, hey, as long as they're good fights and they mean something and they have like like good scenarios, like you're just saying, like I just want it to be good. Honestly, I'm not a very picky guy.
See,
Yeah.
I think getting to your point, right? Like for Dino Fury, I can excuse it a little bit more because the characters that those are, with the exception of Zato and Ion, they're not necessarily natural born fighters. The vast majority of them. But when you look at a season like Ninja Steel, it becomes more offensive.
Now we're talking.
Because you have ninjas that never do ninja shit. That's the
Right.
part that really and that's even beyond like civilian fights, but you could at least channel something to bring some like shinobi antics into their civilian fights, but they just didn't. You know, so it has to fit the aesthetic. It has to be right. You know, and
That's a good point.
I think that you know you
thought it
have
was
to
fine.
capitalize on it. I know you like
listen, listen. I'm
Look,
just saying.
That's all he likes it for.
Look, I
Absolutely
get
not.
it. I
The
don't
theme song
blame you.
fire, too.
I was
the theme song fire.
I
And
watched.
it has my favorite crossover episode. All right, so
Dimensions and Dangerous Fire.
yeah, that's my favorite. So
Really?
listen, that's my all-time favorite.
I thought you said Forever is your favorite.
Yeah, over Forever
No,
Red.
it's second. I like it over Forever Red.
All right, we should transition
Yeah.
to Forever Red talk.
Well, hold. I got my thoughts too.
Oh yeah. Sorry, my bad.
I forgot Uchi was here.
Okay.
Facts.
Where is he at?
I don't want to cut you off.
All right. So to be honest, with this whole debate, that I don't understand why it was even a debate in the first place, but I guess we just kind of learn more and more about this wonderful fandom that we're in. I guess, right?
PMCs.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
So, but for me, it wasn't necessary. I guess my answer definitely relates to all of you guys in bits, because for me, it was never something that I was looking for per se. If we're looking at a show like Dino Fury, right? Because my whole thing is that's one of the last things I'm worried about for this new like Neo Saban era of Power Rangers. Because why? Because there's so many other problems that I want them to address first and foremost and handle before they even think about trying to fight with no suits on. All right. So what you guys were saying, beautifully said, especially when it comes down to like, well, does it make sense for the theme of the show? Because like you said, Power Rangers is about how anybody could be a ranger. Originally, and this is why I feel like some might kind of feel one way about it more towards another, is because it used to be, and this was implanted in our heads, teenagers with attitude. Okay, now it's not really teenagers with attitude no more.
Be adults.
It could be adults, right? It could be
kids, old people.
Yeah,
It could be Gen Z.
it could literally be
Aliens.
anything, anybody, all walks of life, doesn't matter, right? So when it comes down to this, I don't necessarily, I personally, over the last several years of all these Ranger seasons, I haven't looked for unmorphed fights. But whenever they do happen, that's when my critical glasses come on. 'Cause I'm like, okay, let's see what they can do. And then if it's like whack, then it's just like, fuck. Like what?
I'm gonna be real, Uchi. Funny you mentioned that, because I didn't really realize the lack of civilian fights until that tweet was out.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I didn't even notice.
That's
about
what
it.
I'm
Like,
saying.
It was just,
See,
and then it
I
made me
noticed
think, I'm
it.
like, wait, they were pretty OD.
Yeah, it's like I noticed it, but it didn't kill my interest. It was just something I was like, I guess they don't have as many fights.
Yeah, I mean, because when you look at it overall, I'm just like, why are we talking about this? Like, why are people complaining? Like, why is this even an argument online? Because I'm just like, listen, we know how it is with majority of Power Ranger fans, it seems like, especially on Twitter. I don't even want to talk about Reddit or freaking Facebook. I don't.
Oh,
Okay.
Ranger board.
Nah, but like, I just think this is kind of one of those examples of this was just something that no one knew what else to talk about for those few days or whatever, and that they just wanted to point that out and stick that out there. But what I will say is that when it makes sense, and it's like a season that really captivates and capitalizes over those moments, all that does is good things. Like I'm thinking of I'm trying to think of examples that weren't from like series that weren't necessarily like very heavily martial art based. Like the first one I come to mind is like Lightspeed Rescue, right? Because that's very like these are adults that have like real life jobs. Like we have a firefighter, a medic, a mountain climber, a fucking scuba diver, whatever, a pilot, right? And then a dude that got raised up by a cobra in hiding, right? Like, dude, OD. But there's been a few times where we've seen them out of their suits and they all throw hands one way or another. That wasn't the focus, but when it happened as a kid, and then when I rewatched it as an adult later on, I'm like, I'm reminded why this team is goated. Because I don't care about the lack of love that Lightspeed Rescue doesn't get online, because I know it's great. I know that shit's up there. We all know it's up there. Because Power Rangers Academia, y'all come for the real shit. Okay.
I also want to throw in there real quick that Chad is another character. The Blue Ranger and Lightspeed Rescue, he has some OD fight scenes. Like,
yes,
in real life, no, that dude, he's still isn't he Mike Chat? Isn't he still a choreographer for the show? Because I'm pretty sure, because I'm pretty confident he helped choreograph some fight scenes in Beast Morphed. Like I think he worked with the Yellow Ray, because I think she posted something like.
I remember that. You know, I do remember
Mike
that.
Chat.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. So he's still working on it behind the scenes.
And he had his own battle cry
sucked,
too.
But he's fire. Yeah, he did.
What
was it? Yeah, he was like, yeah, he does it.
He's the most underrated Ranger like ever.
When it comes to fight, he's a good fighter. I don't like the character.
He was OD overall.
Dude, watch Lightspeed Rescue again. His episodes, you know, everybody has their focus episodes. His focus episodes were the best episodes.
He fell in love with the mermaid. That was weird.
Yeah, that was awesome.
What I love, dude, one of my favorite episodes was the one, because, you know, that was one of the only seasons where, like, everybody on Earth knew who they were. And, there was that episode where that guy just straight up like, yo, like, fuck you guys. Like, I'm gonna challenge you. Yeah. I'm gonna challenge you to a fight. And he wanted to face. That episode was so OG. I thought that was godlike. And then
that is kind of dope. That is dope.
See what I mean? Like, when you have those instances and it's done right and it works out and it plays out well enough, like, Unmorphed fights really add more to the series. Yeah, it gives you more personality, and then like you connect with those characters a little bit more. And then and here I gave an example from a season that wasn't so focused on that. Let me give you a season that was focused. The first one that came to my mind is the fucking alley fight with Tommy and the Putties. This is before Mance even had his powers. Okay? One of the greatest fights of all time. Call me biased if you want. I don't fucking care.
Great fight.
People here gotta understand. We were born in the 90s. Yeah. All right, so we grew up with this. We're always gonna bring it up one way or the other. If you don't like it, sorry, you have bad taste. But that's just the reality of it. I'm 31 years old. I watched Mighty Morphin. I watched Power Rangers from day one. And if you were born in the 2000s, you cannot say the same thing.
You can't.
So just throwing that out there. That was one of the greatest fight scenes of all time.
Nah, because if you look back at that shit, like, and you learn the history, like JDF straight up was like, oh yeah, like they've never done something like that yet. He was his first one that they did that shit.
Would you say, Isaac? Would you say that that's your favorite civilian fight also, like the introduction Tommy Alley fight?
No.
Okay, what would you say is yours? If you could think.
He said that so confidently. I thought he had something in mind.
I'm gonna say no because I'm trying to think, right? Because I personally think that the Jason Goldar was better.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay,
that's my favorite.
I personally thought it was better. I think it was more iconic.
Up there.
But I know Space had really good ones.
It did.
Space had really good ones.
That was good.
Zeo did too, believe it or not. Zeo, I don't think gets enough credit for the civilian fight. I'm gonna be real. Zeo made Rocky look strong in civilian fight.
He does no martial arts. He is a real martial artist.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep
it real.
He can do his.
I think it's the Tommy one was OD, and it was so memorable because of the timing of it. Again, like what you said, the story behind it, the significance of that scene. Like, okay, this is why Rita is choosing him to be her evil Green Ranger.
Think about that. My man had an audition without even realizing it, and showed up and messed them all up with a fucking trash lid, bro. A trash lid. And this is the other point that I wanted to make, that and because of this unmorphed, conversation, this kind of ties into the video games, because
I was gonna mention that.
You see, like in back in the day for what, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis,
Super Nintendo specifically, the best one.
Facts.
The original and the movie version, you play as them, the characters.
Yes, sir.
Tommy, Billy, whatever, right? And then you fill your meter, and then what? It's morphin' time. And you get that. You get that feeling. And ever since they made games that obviously came afterwards, and they obviously didn't do that,
only one.
It's for me, it kind of lost points. I'm like, I feel like it would be way more exciting and fun if we get to play as the characters, because when you get a game and they're like, oh yeah, this is just the Green Ranger, this is just the Red Ranger.
Literally, the Megaforce games are like that. They don't even have their names.
Same thing with the High-Speed Rescue game, I think, right?
Yeah. That's true.
Just the Ranger.
So I'm like, it doesn't, like, you don't feel as connected because they're literally just assing themselves out with how they really feel about, oh yeah, they're just here's just the Red Ranger, here's just the Green Ranger, here's just, no, I want to play as Jason, I want to play as Tommy, I want to play as, you know what I'm saying, Zach, Trini. Like, I'm trying to play as the characters that I know and love. Like, and that's just not for Mighty Morphin. I'm just using them as an example because they are the only ones that fucking did it. But like, say they did it for, like, I don't know, Time Force. I want to play as Eric Myers. You know what I'm saying?
Who also had I would argue he's he probably has some of the best hands in the entire franchise. Like
absolutely.
Him, JDF and Johnny.
Yes.
It's probably top 3. Like,
right.
If we're talking just like martial arts choreography, hands.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Have you seen that
dinosaur?
Have you seen
that? Wasn't morphed.
That's true. Have you seen that that movie that I think it was Johnny and Dan Southworth. They did some action movie a few years back, but they had like a kung fu choreographed scene where they was fighting each other. That shit was crazy.
I need to see that. I need to see
after,
all that.
After we finish recording, I'll find it and I'll stream it.
Please.
Because it was dope. I was like, yo, this fight is crazy. But what would you say, Tech, in terms of, like, do you have a favorite, like, civilian fight? Because I definitely have one off the top of my head. It's very obscure, but I have one.
I mean, I kind of said it earlier a little bit. Yeah, I did. I gotta go with the Jason Goldar. That's too big.
I got a question. I got a question about that one. Because you guys both said that you guys love that one a lot, right? But see, the way I remember that is when Goldar's like, he's trying to stab him in the floor, and I'm like, he's right there.
He's just there like,
it's a smoke, bro.
Jason's like, what the fuck was that?
Well, he did fight him a little bit, like outside of that.
But yeah, that was my
Tommy too, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he fight Tommy in there too, like right before?
Mm-hmm. But
that was
also, like, that's one of those things that I don't really super focus hard on. Like, as long, but yeah, I said earlier, yeah, as long as the choreography is good, I don't really care that much whether or not they're morphed. Like, it's cool, but it obviously, like, it adds a lot. But in the grand scheme of things, like, as long as the fight's good, and then the stakes, the situation, the scenario, whatever is fine. Like, I can get away with not having it too much. It's not, like, super important to me. But yeah.
See, I think going back to what Isaac said earlier, the reason I always remembered it is because that's when they played the fight music usually.
Mm-hmm.
And the fight music used to get me amped, right?
Yes.
So usually, like, they're like, when I did my rewatch, when they added the series to Netflix, I think that's when I really, like, was paying attention to, I remember this song. This song used to was shit. So I started paying attention to the civilian fights more when I did my rewatch. And I think that because of that, my favorite one is probably from Return of the Green Ranger. Like, so remember when they cut, like, that piece of Tommy's hair off and they made that?
Yeah, and they made the clone.
But it was like before that, and they had there was a fight scene. It was like Tommy was fighting by himself, and the rest of the team was fighting someone else. But, like, it was like a fight
in the past.
5 for 1. No, they were still in the present. It
They're
was
still
before
okay.
they went to the past. But like 5 for 1 comes on, and everybody's doing their fight, and then they cut to Tommy. He does like the Bruce Lee like nose thing, and then he starts going like doing some crazy shit, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And but the way that it fights is that the way that it ends is like Adam did some butterfly twist on a putty. Like, I don't know if you guys know what a butterfly twist is, but it's like, it's this crazy flip kick. That's the only thing I could say.
Okay.
Like and you could tell it was him who did it. It wasn't a stunt actor.
Oh.
That shit was fire.
Why they're...
No,
I was like,
got the best scenes though. Even
I was
the
like,
playground
this
scene was
fight
good.
scene is OD. And it's like there's other good like civilian fights. Like I remember like a few with Zach and
Yeah, I was gonna say Zach.
Yes.
but like
can't.
but usually
Picnic table, that's all he needs.
yeah, but it's just like any time like but that fight in particular, I remember watching it on YouTube a lot, just because like specifically because of Tommy and because of Adam. Even though Adam's part was really short, but it's just like
It stood out.
Yeah, it stood out. It was memorable.
I mean, Mighty Morphin had the most to prove, so they had to do everything right,
Yeah.
right? So whether it was Morphin,
And they were running
or
out of
civilian
footage
fight,
at that point.
they had to. You're right, that too.
Facts, too.
They had to think of something, and these civilian fights was necessary. I think it was most necessary in Mighty Morphin than any other season.
Yeah.
You had to start out with a bang. You just had to. They did it.
Yeah, because
All right, well,
yeah.
They got comfortable. They got comfortable as time went on, but in terms of these fights,
That's also what I was gonna say. Like, because after Mighty Morphin, like they, after the early seasons, you don't see them as much, or they're not as memorable. Say, so like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
like of course they're memorable, but like it's gonna be hard for them to even. They haven't tried to really make them as memorable since then. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to really be mad about that not being in the newer seasons for me. It's not something I think about as much.
Yeah. So, I mean, there it is, guys. That's like our whole take and stance. Like, we're obviously all on the same page with across the board. Like, it's not something we're looking at, expecting, especially with all these newer ones. However, if they're gonna do it, it needs to not suck, because we need to see hands if you are gonna show us hands.
as Chris Matrix would say, hands.
Hands. Yes. We probably gotta get him on here for one of these.
Oh yeah,
Yo,
sure.
dude.
Yeah. He completes the team. He's the fifth. He's the fifth.
It's like so. What are we? We're one of those teams where it's like it's 4 and then the 5th joins later. Like a little.
Oh, yeah, we're the awkward
It's
ass
like-
team. Like, why
it's
the
like-
fuck
it's
do we
like
have 4?
That's how Kara Major was. Like Kara Major was 4 of them, and then the 5th joined later.
Was it like that? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
Kara Major, like the first 4 were together before they got rid.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was very obscure for sure. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll see y'all on the next one.